India's club structure basically took shape in 1996 when the National Football League was launched. Punjab-based club JCT won that league in the inaugural season and did fairly well because you had, you know, you had the best of Indian players playing in it. And back then, you had some really classy players in I.M. Vijayan, Jopal Ancheri, Bhutia, who was at his prime. Uh, so NFL was exciting as a product, but it never really took shape. It never got pan-India.
Press the bell icon on YouTube and don't miss another update.
What happened eventually is that in 2007, the AIFF, that is the All India Football Federation, they decided to kind of relaunch and repackage NFL. They jazzed it up by getting cheerleaders, by having a broadcaster in Z Sports, and basically nothing else. They thought the cosmetic change of having cheerleaders and better jerseys perhaps would change Indian football, and of course it did not. The year when IMG Reliance signed their deal with AIFF, this was the year when Mahindra United shut shop, and Mahindra were one of the best clubs to play in Indian football. They were based out of Bombay, they had won the National League, they had done decently well in Asia as well, but they just did not continue. They didn't see any point in continuing in Indian football. While that should have been a red flag, the AIFF just dismissed it as a one-off. And you could see the trend that's followed later. In 2011, JCT, which won the first National Football League, they were gone. The following year, Pune FC, who revolutionized Indian football in their own little ways, they also thought that there's no point continuing Indian football, so they were gone. In 2015-16, Goa, which was the hub of Indian football, they completely vanished off the scene. And right now, what you're left with is, football being played in certain pockets, but in traditional ones, it's disappearing very rapidly. How ISL came into being is that when I-League was relaunched, or NFL was relaunched in 2007 as I-League, a couple of years later, in 2010, the All India Football Federation got into an agreement with IMG Reliance. They made them their commercial partners, and it was a significant deal back then because AIFF was completely cash strapped. They did not have money to run their day-to-day chores. And in such a circumstance, when IMG Reliance said that, look, we'll pay you 700 crores for the next 15 years and we'll get you sponsors as well. It looked like a win-win scenario for AIFF back then. But in bargain, what they did is they gave away all their rights to IMG Reliance. So that basically means that IMG Reliance now had the right to start their own tournament with a rider in it that existing tournament like the I-League could either be remodeled or completely stopped. It gave them right to every new sponsor that came in. Because they could have their own league, that means that they could choose which teams play in it, where they play, when they play, and who are the players who can play in it. So, in a sense, for those 700 crores over the 15 years or 50 crores per year, AIFF sold its national league. Now, in 2014, IMG Reliance, they said that, look, we've tried whatever we could with I-League. We tried to spice it up, but it's not working out. So we'll start our own tournament, and that's how the ISL came into being. In 2014, when ISL actually launched, Indian football had not seen anything like that before. In I-League, for example, you had your best Indian players, and you had a few, third, fourth rung Nigerian players, Ivory Coast, and basically foreign players from Africa. They played in front of empty stands unless it was a Calcutta derby. They played at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, and no one really knew where the match was shown on television. So in this context, when ISL came, you had weekend matches at 8 p.m. shown on the best broadcaster that we had at that point. And then you had players like Alessandro Del Piero, Nicolas Anelka, Freddie Ljungberg. They all coming to India and playing. And of course, that created a storm. You suddenly had people flooding at stadiums in Delhi, in Bombay, in Goa. In Goa, in fact, there is this thing where they slept outside the stadium overnight just so that they could get match tickets the next morning. Kerala, which was long being ignored, had crowds in excess of 60,000 per match. So the first few seasons of ISL, the the rush was crazy, and everyone was taking notice of Indian football, not just in India, but also abroad. Because in India, you had Sachin Tendulkar owning a team, Ranbir Kapoor, Hrithik Roshan, and it's a crazy mix of Bollywood stars and cricketers. Virat Kohli had a team, so they reached out to a fan base that was beyond football. And abroad, when they saw a Del Piero coming to India, when they saw Nicolas Anelka coming to India, suddenly Arsene Wenger was talking about Indian football in London. People started taking notice, and let's be fair, it did generate a lot of good publicity back then. But it obviously ran out of steam as the clubs realized that they needed more and more money to keep those players here. Eventually, they could not afford it, and what is left of ISL right now is instead of having African players that I League has, they have a third rung or a fourth rung European players, and the attendances are falling. Not many people on TV are watching, so it's just a glorified I League right now. ISL was always supposed to be a tournament. That's what the AIFF president Praful Patel kept on saying. That's what AFC said. That's what FIFA said. That ISL will be a tournament and I League will be a main league. They kept on repeating it year on year, but for many people inside Indian football, it was apparent in 2015 and 16 that ISL is going to be the main league because of the very fact that the kind of money that was being invested, they wouldn't just be satisfied by being just another tournament. So in 2017, when it became very, very apparent that they offered an olive branch, they basically felt that there were three teams in I-League which were the heavyweights. Bangalore FC, who were shrewd enough, who had the business sense to jump the ship from I-League to ISL. They did that in 2017-18, and the Kolkata Giants, East Bengal and Mohun Bagan. But there was also a rider here. What IMG Reliance basically told East Bengal and Mohun Bagan is, look, you pay the franchisee fee of 15 crores and you can be a part of ISL. The Kolkata side said that, look, we are bringing a 100-year-old history. We are bringing a fan base that none of your clubs have. There is a lot of color, a lot of passion, and basically we add more value to the league by joining your league rather than the other way around. That did not go well with ISL, and the other rider that they put forward is that they already had a club, ISL club called ATK. Because ATK played from Kolkata, the organizers said that East Bengal and Mohun Bagan should shift their base to other cities. Of course, that did not make any sense to those two clubs because, for the simple reason that East Bengal and Mohun Bagan could attract 50,000 fans on any given day, and ATK did not even manage 5,000 fans. So there was no comparison there. Because of these conditions, the deal never came through, and what eventually happened was unprecedented because East Bengal and Mohun Bagan took a stand and they've stuck to it. And their stand is that, we're not going to let ISL take over as the main league just like that. So they've joined hands with former champions Aizawl FC, Minerva Punjab, and a couple of other clubs, and have written to the Prime Minister, to FIFA, and asked for intervention in this whole thing. Path ahead right now is kind of, we don't know. It's what the AIFF has said, that we continue with the current arrangement, being that both leagues, ISL and I-League, continue parallelly for the next 3 years until a solution is arrived. But if that happens, no one knows really if the I-League clubs will be able to survive, because eventually ISL is going to become your main league. And if that happens, there won't be any promotion and relegation. So the 10 ISL clubs are assured of being in the top division regardless of how they perform. And the I-League clubs, who will then become the de facto second division teams, there is no incentive. So even if an I-League club wins a tournament, wins a league, they won't be promoted to the first division, unlike in most other countries in the world. I won't say all, because there are countries like USA and Australia which do have closed leagues. But that's done now is that the clubs are saying that, look, I don't mind being a second division team, but at least give us a chance to compete with the best. The ISL guys are saying that you might not have the financial capacity to match these guys. ISL clubs invest around 30 to 40 crores per season in a league. I-League clubs invest around 2 to 5 crores. So there is a heavy mismatch. What they do not understand is the footballing logic. You wouldn't have had a Leicester winning a Premier League, or forget Leicester, you wouldn't have seen an Aizawl FC win a I-League when their budget was 2 crores, while Mohun Bagan, Bangalore FC were investing 15 crores the same season. So you don't need to go to England to see that upsets are possible. Upsets are very much possible in India as well. You saw last year where Real Kashmir, with a budget of 1.5 to 2 crores, challenging for the title till the very last week. And the sad part is, because of all this mess, no investors are willing to come forward and support an I-League club. So Real Kashmir, despite a crazily good last season, their debut season, they are struggling for money right now. And that's what the I-League clubs are saying, that look, if we agree to your terms and conditions and let ISL be a closed league for the next 5 years, we might not even survive that period. So if you want to have a second division, we might not even be there. So what will be left of Indian football? Just 10 clubs who play amongst each other? And also, let's not forget that ISL clubs are also facing lots of financial problems. Pune FC is thinking of relocating to Hyderabad. Delhi cannot even attract 500 people to a stadium. So it's not like ISL is doing really well, but just because they have the money power, they are getting away with things that they shouldn't ideally. It looks like there will be a lot of rocky time ahead. One can only hope that, I-League clubs, I mean, to be honest, if they had done their bit, say, in the past, we wouldn't have seen ISL. But the fact that they didn't really act 10 years ago, it's come back to bite them right now. Whether that's the right way, we don't know. I mean, this is not about I-League being better or ISL. It's just the manner in which the whole thing is being done, which doesn't feel right.